meeting in order. It's 4 o'clock. Reading and approval of the minutes of the previous meeting.
So moved. Second.
Motion made and seconded. Additions, corrections, comments, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes are approved. Bills, communications.
For the month of,
Oh, there you are.
I made it back upstairs. So for this month, we have 2 payments to the Probst Group. One for $2,325, and then the other one is for $945. And that is all.
That's it.
That's it.
Make the motion then. Damn.
Second. Motion made and seconded. We pay the bills. Discussion. Comments. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Treasurer.
For the month of May, we will see that Finger Lakes Railroad pilot payment came in. So when you see Finger Lakes Railroad on the income, the $3,500, that is their fee. We had interest in the savings account for $91.39, which brought us a total income of $66,330.99 because we had project fees also. Facilities and equipment was $9,057.51. That was our total expense for the month. Our net income for the month was $57,273.48. And at the bottom, there's just a breakdown of the account balances, which shows restricted for the pilot payment that was dispersed.
Can I ask for just
The treasurer's report. So moved. Second. Third. Discussion. All in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Unfinished business.
I'm going to recommend that we jump down to new business, just since we have a bunch of people up there apparently regarding the resolution for Omni. Before I do that, who do I have on the phone with the last 4 digits 4487?
It's Janine.
Oh, Janine. Hi, Janine. I should know that number by now. Thank you. If that's okay with you.
Very good.
Okay, so moving down to the Omni assignment resolution. This is very similar to the 2 resolutions that we did last month. This is a solar project that had been approved previously and is now getting through its equity restructuring. So we've got, it looks like a bunch of people here to kind of introduce themselves as the new partners in that project. And this deal has not closed yet, but was approved late last year, I think it was. And then Justin is here, as you can see. So Justin, I'll pass it over to you. Do you have anything to add? Nope, you're gone.
Oh, sorry about that. I had another call come in. The joys of using your cell phone as your Zoom phone. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, the application and the project approval were processed through the IDA late last year. And it was primarily submitted through Omni Navitas Holdings as the project developer. It was understood that Greenpoint Power Partners were involved, but they weren't, on the front of the application. The intent of the IDA application, and as board member Herb pointed out last month, we really need to know who the equity is at the time of the public hearing to have a firm understanding and disclose the assistance at the time of approval. However, it's very common for these solar projects to go through various stages of ownership and development. It's not uncommon for these to change during the development phase, through the pilot application phase, and even following closing, but before construction. We're dealing with several iterations of that across the state. This project appears to be poised to close within the next month on its construction loan, and then move into operations at the end of the year with a permanent loan. The resolution that we have in front of us reflects their request to document the application and the ownership as controlled through Greenpoint. The resolution would allow the IDA to proceed to closing with that equity team, both at construction and permanent. So I'll step back, and if there's any questions, or if any of the representatives from the companies want to kind of introduce themselves, that would be a good time to do that.
Yeah, my name is Scott Kerno, CEO of Green Street Power Partners. Thank you, Justin, board members. We're really excited about this transaction. Just give a little background. We own and operate approximately 12 large-scale commercial solar projects in the state of New York, with another approximate 10 of them in the ground right now, and another 15 that should be going in the ground next year. We've worked with a lot of different towns, IDAs, things of that nature. And Justin's 100% right. You know, there are a lot of changing of hands, and, you know, a lot of developers that go out there, they don't know who's going to be the end user. We currently own and operate about 130 megawatts cross country. We'll be at around 225 megawatts by the end of this year. This project is set to close on its construction loan, as Justin said, by the end of the month, and start construction first to second week of July. So obviously looking to resolve the IDA issue and move forward and get this thing built and get the local residents some savings as we look to sell the community solar to local residents within the township. I would like to also introduce Amanda Zerla, who is part of our team, head of the underwriting and diligence, who can probably answer a lot more questions, as well as Kristen Simmons and Olivia Sproviera, who are also part of the diligence team and our legal team. So again, I thank you all for the opportunity to be here today and to present to you and seek approval.
And just a little, so this is the Omni Navitas project, which was the community solar project in the town of Niles. And it was right around 5 megawatts, right? Does that sound right? Yeah, it's right around 5 megawatts. And it's one of the ones that will distribute into the community as opposed to a larger PPA type deal. Other questions?
I guess I'm gotta go back to does the town of Niles know that the people that they dealt with giving approval to this are not really in the right?
Have you had additional communication with the town of Niles regarding the ownership change?
Yes, we have. So there was a conditional approval that was granted several months ago. I'm trying to pull up the exact date, but we have sent a few requests regarding the ownership change. They haven't sent any opposition to it, just so long as we maintain the conditions that were sent in the town approval, and we show action of those conditions prior to pulling the building permit. So we're in the process of compiling some of the final documents that are required, and I don't foresee any issue with the town in pulling the permit as soon as we submit those documents.
What she said was the town has been notified, but have not actually approved it. Is that what she just said?
My understanding was that there was not really an approval process, that they were notified of the ultimate owners and who would be constructing the project. And it was more so to go about proving that the conditions have been met within the town, and they would have no problem issuing the building permit to us, Green Street.
So the town's been notified, but the building permit still needs to be issued.
Excuse me?
The town's been notified, but the building permit still needs to be issued.
I suspect from the town's perspective, it's the same LLC owner, same site plan. There's just the owners of the LLC have changed, I think, as of March of this year, and I suspect there isn't anything that the town would have a concern about. It's the same applicant, same approved project, same owner. It's just got a different team of equity behind it. So I can circle up with the development team. The IDA process will have to, the closing subject to this consent this evening. We'll have to move pretty quickly we'll have to get involved with the lender council, your council, and get involved in title things like that. So it sounds like that'll ramp up pretty quickly if the board's amenable to approving the assignment.
We have a resolution to move forward with giving Tracy the responsibility to check with the Niles to make sure they're all on board before our approval is kind of authorized.
So approval with that there's terminology.
Contingent.
Contingent
Yeah.
upon,
And verifying that Niles is
Yep.
on board. If that's the case, I'll make that resolution.
The resolution is that you approve it as long as Niles.
Consents?
We consent as long as
Consent
Niles consents.
in writing.
Yeah.
so we want to write,
I'll second it.
you just want, is like an email sufficient?
That's right, yeah, of course.
Okay,
The motion's been made and seconded to approve the resolution. As done as presented. Is there discussion, questions? Roll call vote?
Mr. Lockwood,
Yes.
Mr. Lattimore, Mr. Latnishin, Mr. Vitale,
Yes.
Mr. Marshall,
Yes.
Ms. Spino,
yes.
Mr. Rhineflesh.
Yes.
All members present approve. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much for your time. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank all of you.
Thank you, Justin.
Thanks, folks. Appreciate all your help.
Good to see you, Justin.
Yeah, right.
Thank you. Let me know if you guys need anything else, and otherwise celebrate tonight. All the restrictions are gone apparently, so
Yeah,
normal meetings. So
almost off.
Thanks.
take care.
Bye.
Yeah. Somebody running for some office.
Unfinished business. Tracy's favorite topic.
Yes, yes,
You
it's
on
my,
this?
my favorite, and lots of complicating factors these days, as expected, or as has been the case. So a few things are coming to light regarding the sewer project and the financing structure for it. So I did send out an email earlier today about the financing for the project. One thing that came about is that the guarantee program that Janine was looking at with the Sewer and Water Authority through USDA has some inherent conflicts with the Economic Development Administration funding because of the use of a private financer, because it would be a guarantee for a bank loan. And EDA requires a lien on the facility being funded. And so using a bank loan with that is problematic. So I made a call over to Justin because I was just looking for other ideas. He works with a lot of IDAs that do this kind of work. And he kind of threw out the concept of, the IDA financing this directly, utilizing the grants that we would be receiving as collateral, but also utilizing our vacant land base as a way to finance the project without putting a lien on the facility itself. So in having conversations with John and, we started kicking it around with Steve Lynch a little bit. There could be an opportunity to get some kind of interim financing through CCDC or potentially a bank to help finance and cash flow the project while we're awaiting grants coming back. And then CCIDA could directly, the payment plan that Doug Selby had put together to recoup some of those costs, the CCIDA could enter that agreement directly with the tenants rather than having that flow through the Sewer and Water Authority. And, it's something we could potentially do through their pilot agreement or add it onto an agreement and bill them with their pilot, or a monthly agreement, but basically kind of taking that structure and instead of it living with the Sewer and Water Authority, having it live with CCIDA. So that's the thought process right now. The full funding structure as it stands, there's about a $340,000 gap in the financing structure. Based on an email I got from the construction company today, that might change. But
The gap for phase 1 or phase 2?
the whole
Okay.
the whole thing.
Sorry, thank you.
So looking at what would be coming in from ESD, from the state, from the feds through the EDA funding, our minimum required equity injection based on the ESD funding, the remaining amount is about $340,000 that's not covered by any of those sources. So the idea would be to look to finance somewhere between $300,000 and $500,000 to help cash flow the project, as well as to help get us through until those grants come back. The grant amount itself between the two would be in the area of $700,000. It looks like 220 plus 450 is $670,000. But that's all, those grants are all reimbursement. So the project has to happen. Given the CCIDA's cash balance, we certainly don't want to expend all of our cash on this project in one go and then have to wait for the reimbursements to come back. So adding the financing component would help to cash flow some of it as well. So that's where we're at right now. Until I figure out this financing piece of it, we can't even submit the EDA application. So we are behind schedule on the EDA application. So we really need to get something figured out for this financing piece that works. The other component of this is that the construction company they're at a point where they really need to, they had put a hold on some materials for phase 2, and they need to either purchase that material or let go of that hold, which would impact the pricing of the project because costs have gone up since they put that hold on. This timeline was always part of the conversation, so I'm not sure why that wasn't necessarily taken into consideration, but in order to put an order in for some of this material, they would need a written commitment from us on phase 2. However, doing a written commitment is going to jeopardize our EDA funding. So we're in a pickle on the equipment. They also indicated to me today that they need more pipe than was in the bid package, a substantial amount of more piping than was in the bid package. So I reached out to Chris Lewis to get confirmation and clarification on how that would have happened, because it's about a 25% increase in the amount of piping. It's a lot, it's a big increase. I don't know why the documents would have been so far off. So I want to clarify that there wasn't any miscommunication about where the project ends and starts. But there could be some cost impact in this. And so I wanted to kind of put that all out on the table of, we're trying to align this financing piece so we can get the EDA application in, but then there's this other pressure on pricing from the material standpoint.
The bid specifications did not call for the correct amount of pipe.
That's what I'm trying to clarify, because the big documents, Highlander is saying called for 4,250 linear feet, and that they need an additional 1,120 linear feet, which doesn't make any sense to me. So I've just got this piece of this conversation today, so I sent it over to Chris to get some clarification on what might be happening there. Because that seems very, Chris Lewis from our engineering firm, because that seems like a very big swing. So I have to think that there's some sort of a misunderstanding in where and what they're looking at. So I have not gotten a response from him yet because I just got this afternoon. But there's these competing pressures between the grants and them needing to order things.
You can't apply for the funding until the financing is in place.
Until we have, we can commit to the financing structure. So be able to say to them, this is how we're going to finance the project. This is the full financing structure. And then we can't actually start ordering materials until we have the grant. So this is all competing against each other right now in the timing of the project and the cost of the project.
So it looks like we're gonna need some temporary financing. If you considered how much that'll cost us.
The cheapest solution is probably CCDC.
Mhm.
They do have some funds in their loan fund, and Steve Lynch is open to looking at this for some bridge financing. But that would be the cheapest option because we're not dealing with a traditional lender and we're not dealing with a guarantee program that has fees on top of it. So that's the other thing with the guarantee program. It was pretty expensive as well. It was costly.
Kind of my question.
So that would be the most cost-effective solution for the
If I
financing.
understand you right, the financing is somewhere around between $300,000 and $400,000.
Yeah, so it would, to cover the gap with the structure, the cost structure that exists right now, not accounting for what cost increases might happen with this other email, but the cost structure we have right now, the gap is 338,000. So being able to cover at least that would be ideal. And then it's a question of if the board is looking for some additional wiggle room in the cash flow of the project.
On that side of the project, I'm more concerned with getting the government portion approved than dealing with the financing.
But we need to deal with the financing to get the application for the,
I know that Ben brought up,
Mhm.
we could conceivably in-house, I don't mean using our money, but using our ability to borrow money. We can cover that, but this has gone on for a long time.
Mhm.
And they're not gonna honor this bid if we don't do something right away. And I think we can solve the in-turn financing, but that doesn't solve whether we're going to get approval for the government.
it does not guarantee us the grant money, no.
And there's no guarantee of the grant.
You only get the guarantee, you only have a guarantee of the grant once it's awarded. So we need this to even be able to apply. We need to be able to say to them, we are taking on the responsibility of financing the rest of it.
Right.
So that we can put the application in to find out if we have the award.
So what's it gonna cost us going through CCID?
CCDC, they're willing to work with us on some of the cost structures, but typically the application fee, Rick, can you help me here? The application fee is 500, something like that for CCDC.
Yeah, something like that.
And then legal wise, the costs are typically 1,000 to 2,000.
Yeah.
So $2,500 for
What's
some of
your
the
interest?
fees. It's
It
right
varies
around
depending-
prime,
Yeah.
generally, right around
What's that?
prime, right around prime, generally, depending on the
What's that, 3?
3.5. So we're looking at probably 3.5, 4.
County got any money?
I did sneak it into the conversation about the federal funds that are coming.
Right.
You only spend them once.
Right, and we only need it once.
So far, the county, we spent about 5 times, so
Mhm.
it's crazy. So
We'll give it there.
what if? Yeah, well, if we're gonna get it back, why don't we just use our own funds?
The whole cost of the project is over $1 million and we don't have that much.
Yes, but I thought all we had to commit to was the financing and all the federal.
Well, we need to be able to show them that the entire cost structure of the project is covered. So,
The gaps.
you know, the gap, we know that the ESD is coming, we include the EDA in that budget. But I'm also thinking about, we can't actually upfront all this money.
Well, are you talking about upfronting the money for the construction, or are you talking about upfronting the money to be able to apply for the loan?
For the whole for the project, for the whole construction of the project, because these are all reimbursement grants. So if CCIDA says, oh, we're just gonna take care of the whole thing and then get our reimbursements, we don't have the cash to do it all. We have the cash to do a lot of it, but not all of it. It would leave us without any funding, and there's, you know, we don't have $1 million of cash right now.
I don't understand.
But between us,
You aren't gonna have to spend $1 million. You spend part of it and you get reimbursed for part of what you spent.
Yeah, but you gotta be able to go in and say,
Because it's,
I've got financing for the whole $1 million before you can apply for the grants.
it's not interim reimbursement. You finish the project, then you get reimbursed.
so our money's tied up until we get done.
Right.
So it's a couple of years.
No,
It won't be that long.
No, by the time you get the reimbursement.
So if I was doing it, the first thing I would do right now is get on the phone with the engineers and find out where the heck the difference in the pipe is, because we ain't got no project if that doesn't get solved. So I think right now, we need to get them on the phone.
Somebody didn't use a good tape measure. That's stupid. I don't buy that.
Right now,
or either that or it's the contractors misreading it.
yeah, but the engineer should know.
The engineer is the one.
Yeah,
You would
he
hope.
either has made a mistake or he needs to tell us that the bidder has made a mistake and he needs to straighten it out.
That's right. That's right.
Right.
And actually, I'm a big proponent of using other people's money, not ours.
Well, if Mr. Lynch is so inclined, the $2,500 isn't too bad in the 3.5 for prime.
But where we, how much available do they have?
About $1 million,
Do they have enough for the whole thing?
not quite. They also, I don't think that they would want to tie up all of their funds
Right.
in this.
in the project.
You know, they have other,
So we
things
need
that
to
they
come up
do.
with some of it. We still need to come up with some of it. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, and in talking to John, the idea of having, you know, $300,000 to $500,000, just, it helps to make sure that we don't pinch ourselves in cash flow while we're waiting for reimbursements and waiting for the tenants to come back with helping to finance the project. And
I would get as much as we can from the county and then use the rest of it. Use ours for the balance and, get moving. I mean, we can't, I don't think we can afford to wait too much longer. I mean,
Well, I still think we have to get straightened out. I don't see how in the world we can put a project out to bid, award the bid, and then have somebody tell us that we're 30% wrong in the number of feet of pipe. That's beyond me.
Chris is looking at it. He doesn't have an answer yet. He's reviewing all the documentation.
Who is?
That's what I.
Well, it raises the question to me is, what else have they screwed up in the bid?
We don't know, I mean, we don't know that the contractor is accurate with what they
Right.
said, I mean,
Yeah, so.
what they said to Tracy.
Yeah. So Chris is looking at all the drawings and the bid package to make sure there wasn't any,
He's looking
he's looking at it. He does not have an answer yet.
All right, so as soon as that gets resolved, then that should be simple to net out. Even if they can take this route.
But we have no project if we're that far off. I mean, we almost got to start over again.
I don't want to really do that because everything escalated.
That's right.
Everything's up about 50%.
Yeah, that would be good for us.
We just have to make some amendments.
It doesn't make any sense.
What exactly did they say? The difference?
25%.
What, so they said that their field measurements showed that there was an additional 1,120 linear feet.
So well, let's hope, like you said, that they're just.
Because I do know at one point, the project went all the way across Columbus Drive and then they pulled that back. So I'm wondering if they measured all the way across the street.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable.
So,
Because otherwise you shouldn't be off. It should be simple for Chris to net out.
Yeah.
So as soon as we hear that, we can resolve that.
yeah, so that's my guess, but I don't want to commit to that.
But let's, like he said, let's assume that that's going to straighten itself out right now.
And then I think you need to move forward with what Ben says.
Use as much from that Lynch will put in and then the balance of our own. And move forward.
How much are we short from the Lynch?
I'm sorry, what was,
How much will we be short after we get the CDC money or whatever it is?
it's just a matter of cash flow from there.
Yeah, but what's the amount that we're gonna be just
We won't be,
I thought you said they didn't have enough money for the whole deal.
They don't have $1.1 million.
Right.
If we can get between 3 and 5 from them, ideally maybe 350.
Okay.
It's just a matter of, we don't have $1.1 million.
I know that.
And
Right, because
But
we can say,
that's fine.
say don't commit 350, 500, we'll commit the rest.
We're good.
Then we can say we got the financial documents, we can get the money.
Yeah.
But then when we have to start paying, we can use their 350 and hopefully the reimbursements come back before we have to use ours.
Well, even if you're talking about short-term borrowing, for a cash flow thing, even if the interest rate is higher than you want, it's not like spreading that interest rate over 30 years.
Right.
You're only doing it over.
No,
a few months.
that's why it's so attractive to this CDC because they're not charging you the high fees.
And the worst case scenario
The
is that
loans
we don't
is,
get
$2,500.
the money, then
That's not
we
bad.
still just pay them back.
Yeah, we would pay them back through the financing structure.
That's about what it would cost us to go through the county,
Loan program.
The county loan.
Yeah, there's
Oh,
500
okay.
bucks for the fee and then
Yes, but
rates part.
let's just, and if we don't do any, if nobody comes up with a different idea, let's assume that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And that will be adequate for you to apply for the.
Yeah.
So all we're really
That's all I want,
questioning is a $2,500 fee to access this money.
Yeah, and
I think at this point, we have no choice.
I think it's the simplest solution for this project where it is right now.
So as you,
cleanest, by the least expensive.
yeah, to your point, the 3.5 doesn't matter.
It's such a short period of time, it's not going to add to the total 30-year or whatever it is.
Is there a slight chance we don't get funding at all? Then it becomes the fact that we're gonna be.
Well, we would want to align the closing of that fund financing with the grant award. So we could make that all aligned, so we're not taking the funds before we have the award. And that way we're not repaying on something that's not, and then, because if we don't get the award, we have to have a conversation about whether.
That's what I'm
how this
questioning.
project
What if we
works.
don't get the award?
Yes, then we have a much bigger gap.
Right.
I don't know, but how are we going to deal with the contractor wanting assurance so that he can order the pipe?
Well, no, that's what the financial
Well, no,
Once you
no.
get those loans lined up, you can say you've got enough fund.
So separately from the financing issue is this issue about them making orders. So the financing issue allows us to go out to EDA and submit that application.
Right.
The problem with the contractors, they want a written commitment to phase 2 from us, and that also jeopardizes the grant funding. So there's not really a good solution for that. They also want to order the pump station materials, which have a long lead time. And I don't have a good solution to that because I don't want to jeopardize the grant funding. So what could happen is that the cost on the pipe might go up if they have to release the hold on the material.
So-
Oh, yeah, it's going like crazy.
But on the other side of the coin, pipe really isn't that expensive.
So is there another source of getting money for those two issues? Those two,
But pipe per foot, it's a,
No, it's the
You know,
union.
The county's federal funding. If we had to take it out of EDA.
The only other thing I thought of is get another agency to buy the material, but then
right?
if something goes down the drain, then somebody's stuck with a whole bunch of material. And
yeah,
I know, but if we were in business, which we're not, at the rate that it's going up.
that's the problem, we're not in business.
Yes, we're not. But at the rate that the pipe is going up, having the pipe is not a handicap anyway.
No.
To just sell the pipe.
Right.
It's not like it's something that's not filled.
right.
I think we need to resolve this. Now, if we can leave that for a minute, have you got permission from the towns so that they're starting the first phase?
Yeah, oh yeah, I forgot the best part.
Oh.
Good news. Good news.
Even I
The
talked
town-
about it today.
The town made the approval. We're gonna start construction on phase 1 right around the 1st of July, somewhere between the 1st and the 6th of July.
That is super. That's
Good work.
So we're gonna-
awful good.
We're gonna
Herb will
get.
finance the rest of it then.
Is that a vote or just a letter? Or what?
Okay.
It was communication from Ed,
The first
Yeah.
phase is taken care of.
yes.
Let's approve then suggestion of where to get the money and add to the cost of the project $2,500 for a fee for borrowing the meter.
Is there any negotiations on their fees?
Yeah.
Yeah, there is.
She's
It
gonna-
would be a board decision of the CCDC. John is the
Are
chairman.
you involved with that?
Yeah, I'm the attorney for it. John is the chairman.
Holy cow.
Yeah, so John said,
Oh,
John, litigation.
yes,
Okay.
he's the chair. So, sometimes, there might be a waiver.
You know me, I don't,
But I would just do up to, an up to limit.
yeah, oh, I agree.
After the board meeting, where they decide on the basic terms, then Steve prepares a term sheet, which he sends to the representative of the company, or in this case, and then Tracy would review it and sign it if it's consistent with your resolution.
You know me, I always have to give them a little hit.
But I move that we add to the cost of the project up to $2,500 for borrowing the money to get us to the point where we can apply for the federal funding. Is that good enough?
Yeah.
Should you put in there from the county?
Yeah, we should. Is this gonna be one motion? Because if we're
Whoever's
going
making the motion.
to expedite this, I want the motion to include authorizing to sign the loan documents.
I would add to that motion authorizing her to sign the loan.
Great.
And then
Sounds
the money would come from PDC or whatever.
CCDC.
Yes. You okay with it? As long as
That way if things go smoothly, it'll go quick.
Second.
you have to be authorized to sign any loan documents.
Motion made and seconded on Herb's motion. Everybody understand the motion? Okay. Taylor, roll call, please.
Mr. Lockwood,
Yes.
Mr. Lattimore, Mr. Latnition, Mr. Vitale,
Aye.
Mr. Marshall,
Yes,
Ms. Spino,
Yes,
Mr. Rhineflesh.
Yes,
It'd be nice if you permit, if Tracy could put in the range of the loan amount within that motion, when she prepares the draft minutes.
yeah.
Well, I don't know what she just,
We said 300 to 500.
but
Yeah,
now,
exactly.
now Tracy, that's adequate for you to apply for the fund.
Yes.
And I think we've got to hear the solution on this pipe business.
So this is adequate for me to move forward. I'll get some more additional clarification on the pipe business and hopefully it's not a problem at all. And then did you finish the roll call?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and
All
then,
members present are voting aye.
and then, if there's any change to the budget prior to the EDA submission, I'll inform the board and we can address, or I can include it in the submission to EDA if there's an increase in the cost.
Rick, that's satisfactory, okay.
And I'll inform everybody and let everybody know where we are.
You're going to negotiate with somebody with the contractor so that he's comfortable ordering this pipe, or are we gonna have to order the pipe?
How much is the pipe?
So right now, what he has ordered is about $100,000 worth of piping. If he has to let the hold go, it would add about 50%, so it would add about $50,000 to the piping. There's potentially a space to have the conversation about other areas of the project where we could make up that difference with sewer and water authority and the engineering firm, because there might be some space in the pump station, the way that it was designed to find some cost savings there, as long as the specifications still meet the needs of the sewer and water authority or the water and sewer authority. So we might be able to make up that difference elsewhere in the project. But at the very least, I'm going to try to get them to order the pipe without us jeopardizing our EDA funding.
I would think if we approve the financing method for the whole project, we've already awarded the bid on the whole project.
Right.
It's just subject to the financing.
Yep.
And in your opinion, the financing is 20% sure or 80% sure?
Well, you're 100%.
Well,
The
nothing's 100.
The only thing that's unsure is whether or not the grant dollars come through
and that
and
would be a big
how
hole.
we, because that's 50% of phase 2. It's potentially $450,000 the way it's set up
What
now.
percentage of, do you feel confident about that?
About the
Knowing-
EDA coming through? 80? I feel pretty good about it. They've been very supportive of the project. They just need certain ducks in a row. But, you know, we've been talking to them for
Really
2 or
feel
3 years about it.
It's a really good chance that it's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, I think, so the regional representative for EDA has been in the loop on this project since the beginning. He's always liked the project. But I have to make sure not to trigger anything that makes it ineligible.
Yes,
But if,
we've kind of done that, right? Excepting for the discussion on ordering the.
yes, yeah, so we should be able to get an application in with this financing piece worked out. And I'll have to continue working with Highlander on how to secure that pricing.
Does any of this financing necessitate a environmental study of the project?
No.
Not that I'm aware of.
It's
Well, so EDA has an environmental process, but that's, all that paperwork is pretty much filled out at this point.
So that's not a problem.
But even if you didn't get the grants, and it was still go forward with the project, just be more expensive.
And I can't say that to EDA.
Oh, no. I'm just talking amongst those chickens.
But that's
The
something,
chickens are on TV.
that's something that we need to at some time possibly address.
We are going to
Because if we
address
don't
that.
go ahead with the project, they're not going to do their expansion. I believe, but I don't think they can do it because they have no place to put the sewage.
Does another agency want to make $25,000 by buying the pipe?
Yeah, or
Let's split the difference. Let's split the difference.
That's what I'm saying. Another agency could invest a little money, make it for 25,
like there's somebody that was in water and sewer or something.
possibly, I don't know.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Sounds like business.
That's what business people would do.
That's actually what I-
You could probably carve out 5 for yourself, and everybody's.
No.
Okay.
No,
We've gone
no.
too far. We've gone too far. Red light.
Okay, so.
So I'm going to continue to work with them on this and
Except
find a
for
solution.
hearing from them on whatever the mistake is with the number of people.
Yes.
I would say that even though our treasurer is listening, we don't make any more payments until that's straightened out. We hold,
And I agree with, I totally agree with.
Yeah, that'll get some interest.
Do you want us to hold these checks until we figure it out?
I can see it being a couple foot one way or another, but
yeah, but that's, Tracy has a possible reason why it would be. And that means it's no problem at all because the contractor is figuring more of a job. But then the contractor bid should be less because they're doing less feet.
it's right.
They need less pipe,
Well,
they're
probably
going to do
bid
less
on it.
feet, so they should subtract the percentage of feet that is off of the bid price.
Wasn't a bid
But-
on unit price? Wasn't a bid on unit pricing?
Yes, that sounds right.
So if it's bid on unit pricing, it is what it is.
Right, they didn't bid that much.
Right.
They bid per foot.
So they bid for the 4250 and they're saying the actual length is 57 or 55 something.
Well, you're gonna
52
find
something.
out.
So we're gonna find that. I'll find that out, I'm sure, in the next day.
Okay, but do we need a motion to hold the check?
Oh.
No, because
take
we
care of
bid on, we vote on.
So we have to
Yeah,
vote
but we
on
just voted on two.
it.
Well, right, but next month,
Let's hold these checks here.
yeah, next month, we just won't pay it.
No, I heard him saying the one we just approved today.
Oh, okay, oh, you're
Hold
talking
down.
about today.
Hold them till we get the answer.
Yeah. Can we,
Yeah, well,
as many meetings, I look, can we, yeah, we already approved it, can we just approve it?
Oh, we approved the thing, but my motion is to hold the checks until we have an answer.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded that we, not forward any checks to Probst, is it Probst? Until we straighten this pipe deal out. Discussion. All in favor? Any opposed? Sounds good to me.
That's smart. That's a good point.
I know that's what I do if I was personally doing it.
Money is the only thing that makes.
Oh,
yeah.
That's the golden rule.
Absolutely what I do if I was doing it personally.
It's the golden rule. Whoever's got the rule makes the rule.
I already have a look.
Okay, what else?
okay, that's all I have on sewer.
That's wonderful
Oh,
that you're ready to start that first.
Yeah, I thought you might be happy about that.
Yeah, that's very, very, very good.
Yes.
Hey, now it's bad news.
No, I'm done. I'm done with sewer. I'm done with sewer. The only other thing I really wanted to run by you today is I got a call from a project in Fort Byron. Are you all familiar with the Church Street Apartments?
Yep.
Okay, so there's apartments in Fort
Benny and I
Byron
went to school there.
that are in the old high school. And there is a nonprofit developer that is looking to redevelop those apartments. And basically what that means is let me preface this by they're not asking for IDA incentives. But they're looking to redevelop that property into, they'll build a new apartment complex with 69 units. And then once that's done, they'll tear down the old high school and they're going to redevelop the whole area with some trails. They're looking for a letter of support for some of their funding opportunities.
Is it
Yes.
the same company you've been playing with for 5 years?
Yeah, kind of.
They're going to build the apartment complex. So,
On the same, like behind it, on the same kind of
The old
area.
football field.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah, on the old football field. So
Or the tennis field.
I'll pass this around. You can see in this map, there's an outline of where the current building is. They're gonna build it down here. And then they're gonna take the whole property, demolish the old high school, make some trails, make some public spaces. They're applying for some funding and he called asking about whether or not the IDA had grants available or were funding any grants through the LDC, which we are not. So, but he did also ask for a letter of support just to help bolster their applications for funding.
no, I know I don't know it. I understood that they were going to tear down the gym and the auditorium part off of the building. It's not right. The whole thing.
Yeah. Because the whole thing has kind of gone beyond.
5 or 6 years ago, it was just the gym and the auditorium.
That
Since
was
then,
the only one that I,
Since then, it's the whole thing. The county will not,
including the gym and all that.
and the county will not foreclose on it, because we don't want the liability.
Oh,
And so the only way this is really gonna go forward is if something like this were to happen.
So they want us to support the project.
Yep, just a letter. Because we don't have any incentives that are applicable to them. Because they're nonprofit, they don't need the sales tax exemption. Tearing down the building, not
Who
really
is it
looking at
that's
a
doing
pilot. It's the DePaul Housing. They're out of Rochester. They have been looking at this for a number of years and have not been able to align the funding, but they are going at it again, particularly for the second phase of demolishing the existing building and redeveloping that area. So from this body, all they're looking for is some support to help bolster their grant applications.
Yeah.
And then I'm also pointing them to some other funding opportunities that might be relevant. But I did not want to write a letter of support from you without telling you or bringing it to your attention.
no, it sounds very appropriate.
Yeah, I can't say the negatives in public here.
Too bad.
Okay.
I have good memories out of that area.
Yeah, I mean, when I first looked at it, I had some feelings that people in the community would be very upset with tearing down the whole school. And as I talked to more and more people, they just want,
Not anymore.
they just want the whole thing gone. The company that's running the apartments right now, just like all these other grant funded things, once it cycles through, they don't have enough money to maintain it.
Right, yep,
So they don't have any money to maintain it.
it just goes
And
down.
it's going south. And so unless you get a program like this to come in and start over, there's no hope.
And then this, what you almost wonder with these solar projects. You know, everybody's there in the beginning to get the funding. And then as soon as the one guy gets his one, he's
Yep,
gone,
yep.
sold to another guy.
You want a motion?
Sure.
So
I guess if you look at me, Ray, I guess I'll second.
I'm not looking at anybody.
Anybody.
Nobody in particular, anybody. Motion made and seconded, discussion, questions. All in favor? Opposed? Write the letter.
Great. And did I miss anything, Taylor? No. Those are the main updates. There's other stuff. We have a Q&A about the new business grants coming up with someone from ESD. So that program just opened last week. And so we have a Q&A coming up next week about that. That's virtual. And then we have some upcoming events. But these are the major things I wanted to put in front of you.
Introduce the new staff.
Oh, I don't think she's out there anymore. I think she
Right,
left.
that's what I'm bringing
Oh,
up.
so Giovanni, who you saw on your way in, is our new communications coordinator. She started June 2nd and has been doing a very nice job settling in. Tonight's her first business after 5, and we're very happy to have her. She just bought a house in Auburn, so she's a local resident, and yeah, she's pretty
Is
cool.
there business at 5 tonight?
There is at Drifters. So
Hickory?
at Drifters.
Oh,
Out of
down
Wasco.
Wasco.
Yep. So Taylor and I will be booking it down there after this.
I had just a little, I had a new company in my corner. And it's the guy who is on, is it Street, who goes towards the freeway?
Yeah.
And he said he tried to negotiate to buy a considerable amount of our property off the mall, because there's a railroad sign there, for him to expand his fertilizer and things that needs to be on the list, and he was very interested in that. But I think at that time, we could not get the proper ownership title to it.
It takes a couple of years or something.
Yeah, so
But anyway, my point is that there is some interest in that proper rail site.
Right?
And because of the railroad side.
Yeah.
But he said he was very interested in it, and when it didn't work, he got property in the Central County project there, as you go in, and he's already built most of his food.
Who is that?
If you want me to tell you his name, I have no idea. I need to check out to the company. Okay, I don't, but he's a fairly young guy, and it's 60,000 acres of very huge.
Scott does all ours.
One other thing I wanted to bring up is the solar projects. 318, everybody sees that
Yeah,
big solar project going out there.
That's this guy's project.
Yeah.
right next to it. You don't,
Yeah.
it says there, right?
So my issue is, I mean, that land is not, that's kind of marginal
Yeah.
around there. But there's all kinds of companies talking to everybody out there, and they're committing all they're selling a bill of goods that I'm not crazy about. But if a lot of this stuff goes forward, we're gonna be taking good farmland out of production.
Farm Bureau passed a resolution at the annual meeting that opposing taking prime farmland.
For anything, but
Yeah.
so like what,
Particularly the solar.
so the one thing that one guy I was talking to, they wanna like commit like 250 acres. And then once they put the project together, they say they're gonna, pay them so many $1,000 per acre. And then once the project gets, they figured out, then they tell them what acres they want out of that 250. And so then the farmer has no choice in the matter. Once you sign the contract, you have no choice of what round they decide to take. And then they only pay you for what they end up taking. And it's just, I worry about it because,
I talked with them people. And the pay guys, they're just crooks.
that's what I think. And then we see.
But I'm not sure all of them are crooks, but these people are.
Well,
The ones on 318?
No, the one, they wanted my farm. They wanted.
Oh, they want, somebody wanted yours?
Yeah, they wanted all that, the dairy farm that owns.
oh,
Allen's. Allen's bought all of what was Bruce farm and part of it. And they wanted all of that, and they told me Allen's had already agreed to it,
Really?
but they haven't.
no, they haven't.
But that's why I'm a little concerned that when we start dealing with them I know who we're dealing with right at the beginning. You don't let them go through 2 or 3 hands.
I don't think we're
But I
gonna
think
have
that's part of the process. There's it's phases and they sell it. So there's certain people that do the first phase and then they sell it to the next.
Yeah.
There's a huge amount, like $2,000 an acre per year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think there's probably something that we can do.
and then they have to make the project happen before the end of 7 years. And then if it doesn't, then the farmer keeps the money, but the problem is that these projects are starting to move more, so 7 years, something will happen. But
I think we need to
totally
We
understand.
need to be careful if we go into that. That's,
Yeah.
and the good thing is most of the towns that they're going to be in are going to be very, very careful. And if we work with those municipalities, it will help weed out.
I think it's hard though, because you know, they got a front guy, a nice
Yeah.
polished front guy, he comes in.
Like the gas well, landman.
Yeah, he's all nice and everything, and that, oh, don't worry about this, right?
You don't need an attorney, you just sign here.
Yeah. By the time you're done, you're going, and they're doing it, it's like buying a car, right? The car guy's doing it 100 times. He's doing it 50 hours a week, and you come in the one time, you can't get the deal.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But any farmer is doing it without spending good money on a good attorney deserves what he gets.
And absolutely.
Yeah, the farmer will get what he deserves, but then we end up, as a county, as a town or whatever, we end up losing, I think, valuable farmland.
Exactly.
That's a problem.
Yeah. And my issue too is that these solar panels, they don't produce any job,
No, not
right?
one maybe, but basically none.
Sorry.
I move we adjourn the next one.
Got it.
Second,
On favor?
I